Hello, today we're going to go over a couple of things to help you to keep on track and keep in time with playing. So two things that you want to be working on is the rhythm warm-up, which I call the rhythm scale. It's not really a scale, but to me it is. So the first thing you want to know about this warm-up, and you have this already in your thing in Google Classroom. So we're thinking about, and we're in 4/4 time here. Doesn't make any difference which kind of time we're in. But in this case, we have 4 beats. So we're thinking of the 4 values of rhythm, the simplest values, which is the whole note, the half note, the quarter note, the eighth note, the triplet, the 16th note, and then the 32nd note, 16th note triplet, and then the 32nd note, 16th notes. So basically, you're counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you play the whole notes, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your whole note. Your half note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the half note is equal to 2 beats when you're counting. You need to be able to count in all your practicing, especially when you're reading music. And when you're playing, even if you're playing on the drum set, you're always thinking of some count, especially the time. So the time in this case is the quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's your quarter notes. Then you have eighth notes. So the time is 1, 2. Nothing's changed. So then you have 1 and... There's your eighth notes. So if you have the bass drum with it, and that's one way you can practice this, okay? Then you're going to go into groups of 3. So you can think of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. Make sure you know where you are in the count. That makes a big difference. So, triplets. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. So you got, there's your triplets. 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, okay? That's the beginning of this. Then we have 16th note triplets. In this case, here's your beat. So now you start to think 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. There's a regular triplets. So now instead of thinking quarter notes, here's your quarter note. So what's happened here is you've doubled the speed of. And that's what, then you can practice these separate. You don't have to do them right in the as it goes up. You can practice them like you can play quarter notes. And 2 and 3 and 4 and back to quarter notes. Now we'll change to eighths. 16. So you'll notice as you're doing this, you're making sure the time is going. If you don't have a bass drum, you can use a click track. Bass drum becomes your click track when you do it. And the last one would be the 32nd notes. So here's your beat. You don't want to be thinking too fast. Again, so if you're thinking from the eighth note, so you've got all those. So let's try it one time. You can practice this warm up. You can go as far as you can go. So we'll start with the quarter note. So if you're thinking of how fast can I play this, go to the fastest one. 1, 2. That's about where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You're thinking fairly slow. Quarter note. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3. 2 measures of each. 1 and 2. Triplet. 2 lily, 3 lily. Triplet. And so you can also work things back down, go from the fastest to the slowest. You can, and you definitely want to work them in and out of the rhythms. So you might do whole notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then eighth notes. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So within this, you're going to be working with, also part of this is the technique of how the drum stick hits the drum. So if you have the pad, you want this drumstick to come off of the drum. You don't want it to not come off. It needs to come off of the drum when you're doing it. Again, you would practice each hand by themselves. Getting used to do that, same way thing. You don't want this. You don't want to change the angle of your drumstick. You want to make sure that you're thinking it the best you can. So the next thing you want to do is look at your rudiment page. So the rudiment page, they start out with a single stroke roll, then they have that goes on down. We're not going to do all of these today. We're going to start off with the technique of this drum tap. That's when this drumstick comes off of the drum, or if you're using a pad. So you might want to do that maybe 25 or 30 times. So you might want to do that before you do the warm-up. Okay, the warm-up every time you practice is going to include that warm-up of the rhythm scale that I call it, and also rudiments that you know. So then after you do that, you've done your drum tap. Then you're going to do the single stroke roll. So the best way to practice single stroke roll in the beginning is to keep it at a steady tempo. So that's 16th notes. Then you can go from slow to fast. So don't go any faster than you can, okay? Don't go faster than you can play, because you'll get confused. So the next thing you're going to have is you're going to beginning to thinking of a roll. Most rolls, you're thinking in 16th notes when that's the guts of a roll. Okay, that's what's making the roll work. So the roll, and actually you're doubling each stroke. So if you're playing 16th notes, when you play one group of 16th notes, you have 8 strokes. Okay, the buzz roll, unlike the double bounce, what the buzz roll is you're practicing that drum tap, but now you're. And what I'm doing, I don't do this. So you're going to practice that with each hand. Then you're going to put it together. And you don't want this. If you have that other thing, you're holding it too tight. So in this case, you're holding it just enough to get it started, but you're letting the stick bounce, okay? So then you practice that as a long roll. Okay, so there's your long roll. So the next thing that you're going to do after you've done the long roll, let's do a couple of the rolls. So we're going to do the 5-stroke roll, the 9-stroke roll, 13-stroke roll, and 17-stroke roll. So the 5-stroke roll is, you're thinking of it, it's 2 eighth notes tied together. So you're thinking of the fill of it is 1 E and. That's what it is. That's what that rudiment sounds like. So it's 2, 4, 5. So you've got 2 buzzes. And when you end on the other hand, so you're thinking of this. You want to make sure that you have 2 nice buzzes and then a single after that. That's what you want. That's your 5-stroke roll for the buzzes, okay? Then you're going to have the 9-stroke roll, which is 1 quarter note tied to anything, a quarter note, a 16th, an 18th, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything. So you're thinking 1 E and 2 or 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And if you're slower, you want to make it start to sound like a roll. Okay? So there's your 9-stroke roll. So the next thing you're going to have is a 13-stroke roll. And when you're looking at the 13-stroke roll, you're going to look at that, and you'll be doing this in your exercises, so I'm not going to show you what one looks like. The count of a 13-stroke roll is there's 8 strokes in the 16th note. Then when you have the first 2 sixteenths of the next beat, 1 E and 2 E, that's 12 strokes, okay? 8 and 4, 12, and 13 is on the and. So you're filling in, okay, 1 E and 2 E and. Now that can start anywhere. It can go on it can start in different places, but for right now, we'll just think of it starting on the 1. So it's 1 E and 2 E and. Okay, so there's your 1 E and 2 E and. That's the 13-stroke roll. And rolls don't have to be a stroke. So if it's real slow, you would have to change the divisions under there. You might go to 32nd notes if it's really slow. So what I'm saying is, for right now, we're thinking of the roll as 1 E and 2 E and. That's the 13. 17 is 2 complete groups of 16th notes, 1 E and 2 E and. That's 16 hit. Okay? So that particular stroke, the 17-stroke roll, you have a single on the end. That's why it's an odd number. There are 6-stroke rolls and all that kind of stuff, 10-stroke rolls, but we're not gonna mess with those right now. So here's your 17. Or so any of these rolls that end on the opposite hand, they end on the same hand, you're going to alternate. If they end on an opposite hand, then you don't have to alternate, but you should be able to start every roll with either hand. You want to be able to play left and right-handed. You don't have to worry about it. So the next thing you're going to do, the next rudiment that I want all the beginners to do once you get going is the paradiddle. So in the 40 international, there's more rudiments in this. If you play in a marching band, there's more rudiments. So the paradiddle is all with sticking, but it includes something called the bounce. So we should look at the bounce, all right? So your bounce is this. Okay, so there's your bounce. So the way to get that bounce is to practice it. So down, it goes, you hit it, let it go down, and it goes up, and then you bring it down. This takes a lot of work. So if you're practicing this, I'll need to see this when you tape yourself. So in the beginning, you can just do this. That's no bounce. That's just you going right, right, left, left. There's no bounce there, okay? So when you begin this paradiddle, we won't make it fast yet because you're still working on that double stroke roll. So the double stroke roll at the beginning, you can do this. And you can work on the bounce. This stick goes up and down. And what you're doing is you're making your wrist take it, and the bounce is going on its own. You're not making it happen with your fingers. So a paradiddle, paradiddle, right, left, right, left, left. The faster that gets, then you're getting into the bounce. You're going to want to work with that. Okay, you're going to want to work with that particular thing. So basically, you have groups of 1, groups of 2, groups of 3, and the rudiments are singles and doubles. So the other thing is the flam. The flam has a grace note. So for the right hand flam, the left hand is your grace note. You don't want this. It's not the same exact. It thickens the note. So this is it. It makes the note thicker, okay? So that's your flam. Practice your right hand flam. You can practice that over and over. Again, you're letting the stick do the work, and then the left hand flam with the right hand grace. So then you can alternate them, and we'll be doing flam exercise. So work on the flam. Show me what you have. Then the other thing we have is a drag, which is a double. So you're going to do your normal double. That makes it thicker. That has to come with the bounce. If you notice that. The other thing is if you have a drum set and you're playing that warm-up, you can do quarter notes. You can play around the drums using that warm-up, and I recommend playing around the drums using the warm-up. So there's the basis of the warm-up, the rudiments, and remember, there's 40 of these rudiments that you're going to be working with. So that's a good introduction. Some of you can't do all of this. Some of you can only do a couple of these things, so you'll be working to get more. So have a happy day. This is Drums Around the World. Happy drumming.